everybody. It's Aidan, but it's not a new episode of the podcast. This is just going to be a solo review I'm doing while we're on break this week. So for this episode of reviewing a episode of a TV show, just to get some new content. So for this one, I chose the episode of Alfred Hitchcock Presents called The Sorcerer's Apprentice. And this episode is largely notable because it was banned from release, because it was considered very disturbing at the time by censors. So yeah, that's kind of the historical basis and the context for this episode, that it was considered too out there, even compared to most of Hitchcock's catalog for release. So it was definitely something I had to check out, and I was in luck because I got a DVD copy that had 30 Hitchcock films for like $5, and this was on there as a bonus feature. I don't know. Most of them were in the public domain, so I got them pretty cheap. But so this was on there. I put it on. I thought it would be a good watch because I had heard a lot about it, and I wanted to see kind of what it was made of. So The Sorcerer's Apprentice is basically the story of a teenage boy who is found unconscious on the grounds of a traveling magic show. And he's picked up by a magician named Sidini, who is in a relationship with one of the actresses in the show, but the actress is cheating on him with someone else. And because of that, there's a lot of tension even from the get-go. So they find this teenage boy named Hugo, and they find that he is delirious and confused from it's never explained what happened, but he arrived there totally unconscious and unaware of his surroundings. So because of that, there's a lot of manipulation that takes place, and there's a lot of attempting to kind of groom them into what they want to happen, and that ends up in very, very bad outcomes, because he ends up being convinced that Sidini's magic is real. And I won't spoil the ending because it's kind of a labyrinth to get there, and it very much goes somewhere you wouldn't expect at the end. But I definitely see why it was considered bannable in a time when you still had the Hays Code and you had these extreme restrictions on a lot of film and TV. So obviously, it almost certainly would not be banned from release today, but it makes it a fascinating part of the history that this episode was considered too disturbing for the audiences at the time. But yeah, it was very strong, very engaging all the way through. I won't spoil the ending because this is the type of story, even though, and you could probably watch it right now, it's public domain, so it's very easy to find, and it's about half an hour long, so it'd be a pretty easy watch. This is the type of story that you don't want the ending spoiled, so I won't do that. But yeah, just to kind of give a review of the technical, the version I watched, it wasn't the greatest image quality, but you can tell that there's a lot of attempts being made to make the presentation more cinematic than a lot of television in the early 60s. It's much more kind of ambitious, which is pretty commendable, and it depicts things has a very dark atmosphere throughout, which I like. I think some of the acting isn't that great, A lot of it is the actors who aren't amazing, but they're coasting off of very strong material. The script for the episode was actually written by the man who wrote Psycho, so it's a very strong script and very able to conjure tension with ease. but the actors themselves, they're not bad, but they're really not great. That's kind of the issue. And that's probably the only major problem, because I think everything else works very well. And it's definitely not enough to sink the experience, but it doesn't quite rise to a 5 for me. I'm going to give The Sorcerer's Apprentice a 4.5 out of 5. Still a very good score. And I would encourage all of you to check it out. It's a nice kind of spooky watch, on a dark, rainy night or whatever. It's something that, that would be a fun experience. So, and it's something that you won't see the ending coming, and it'll be kind of a surprise. It'll be not kind of, definitely a surprise. So, yeah, I hope you watch. If you check it out after or before, if you've already seen it, or if you check it out because of this video, I hope you leave your thoughts in the comments. What do you think? But yeah, The Sorcerer's Apprentice for me is going to be a 4.5 out of 5. It's a great experience. There's some minor problems, but it doesn't interfere with the end result for me. I think it's a great story, and I think it's a great episode of TV. So, yeah, that's The Sorcerer's Apprentice. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at you again next week with an actual podcast episode with the three of us, but I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for watching.